over 60,000 people are diagnosed a year in the United States. And like I said, 1 every 9 minutes. They anticipate that the current 1.5 million people with Parkinson's is going to double by the 2040s. So we need to take the steps necessary to educate people about Parkinson's.
Hey everybody, Ken from Home Instead. Thanks so much for joining me again today. And today my guest is Karen St. Clair of the Parkinson's Foundation. I've known Karen for a number of years now, and she is just an amazing person. Definitely a difference maker in our community. I think that her impact among the community, especially of those who are living with Parkinson's or caring for a loved one who's affected by the disease, can't be overestimated. So when Karen and I connected just the other day, she was telling me about an upcoming event, the Parkinson's Moving Day event, which is coming up next month, Saturday, May 22nd. It's an event to raise funds for the Parkinson's Foundation. Home Instead has signed up to be a sponsor of the event. We're really happy to support. And I thought I would bring Karen on today. Today is this month, April, is actually Parkinson's Awareness Month. So it's very appropriate for us to be talking about this. We're going to have a chat about the upcoming event. We're going to introduce her to you all and talk a little bit about resources that are available for those who are impacted by Parkinson's disease. So welcome, Karen. Thank you for joining me.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Ken.
Absolutely. So it was great to see you the other day. It had been a bit, I think that a lot
Yeah.
of people are probably having similar experiences because, we haven't seen each other too much over the last year. Can't believe it's already been a year.
No. Being locked down for a year makes a big difference. Yeah. It was like, oh my gosh, I get to go out and see you. That was,
I know. And I don't know if you have a similar experience to me, but I feel like it feels like it's gone by quickly and like it's taken a long time. Like I have both feelings about it. It feels like,
that's really true. In some aspects, I felt it was very enjoyable to not have to rush to meetings and just be able to do them in my bedroom.
yeah,
And that part I really enjoyed. And on the other hand, I really missed seeing everybody. And so that I think that was felt throughout our community,
yeah.
that not being able to see each other except on Zoom. Thank God for Zoom.
I know, I know. It's amazing how intimate a connection we actually can have on this platform. It's been surprising. But
That's right.
so for those who aren't familiar with you or aren't familiar with the Parkinson's Foundation, the Parkinson's Coalition, you're also involved there. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found yourself getting connected with these organizations and what your journey with Parkinson's has been?
Sure. I met my husband 10 years ago, and Rob had had Parkinson's for 10 years when we met. And I really didn't know a thing about Parkinson's, but I knew that I was falling in love with this man, and that was probably something that we would be able to, work through no matter what. And I remember him giving me a book, Parkinson's for Dummies, when we first met, and I started reading it, and I thought, oh no, 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 I'm not. That's not going to be our experience, and because it was pretty depressing.
Was it
Uh,
the yellow cover, yellow black
Yep,
cover? Oh my
Parkinson's
goodness.
for Dummies. Yep, yellow with black. Yeah, and it was a pretty wake up call. But at the same time, I thought, well, we make our own life, so we'll see how that goes. And so 10 years later, Rob is still writing music. He's put out 2 CDs during COVID
Oh
on
wow.
Amazon. Yeah, he's been prolific these months. And life has just gone on, and I've learned so much about Parkinson's. And when we moved here from Portland in 2014, um, we were really astounded to find out that there were no Parkinson's support groups here.
Mm.
And in Portland, you could go to a support group almost every day of the week, find one somewhere in the city. And so that was a wake up call to us that, oh, okay, this is a different landscape here in so
Uh,
many ways. And we started in October of 14 with 8 people showing up, and we had it in the home of Eduardo and Alicia Moreno. And we had 8 people show up for that meeting. And by January of 15, we had to move into the Christus St. Vincent's Holistic Wellness Center because we had already outgrown the living room.
wow.
Um, so there's a huge need for it here. I have over 300 people on my email list now in the Santa Fe area, and it just keeps growing. Unfortunately and fortunately, because um, one of the things Rob and I've always said is the absolute perk of his having Parkinson's is that we've met so many, many amazing people, and we just
Yeah.
feel so blessed by that. Well, I started working with Jamie Cook in, I think it was 2018, to get a movement disorder center at the UNM Health Sciences campus. And through that legislative work, I got recognized on the national level and was invited to be on the Parkinson's Foundation, the National Parkinson Foundation, People with Parkinson's Advisory Council. So that's kind of how I've gotten onto this larger platform. And I've been very blessed to have the opportunity to come to them with our New Mexican perspective, and seen them move more of their literature to Spanish. um,
Great.
you know, yeah. So and really trying to get more of their programs on webinars that people could view, um, all over the place. And then COVID came and kind of forced them into that anyway. So it worked out beautifully because I was thinking of the rural communities and how do you get to people who I know have to have Parkinson's in rural communities
Mm.
and get them involved in some kind of a community and get them the resources they need, to deal with this very devastating illness. For those of you that don't know, Parkinson's is a neurological, neurodegenerative, progressive, incurable disorder. And it can start at any age. We used to think of Parkinson's as an old person's disease, and it is not. I was at
Mhm.
a Michael J. Fox policy forum in Washington, D.C. a few years ago, and met a young woman who was diagnosed her second year in college.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this is no longer an old person's disorder. My husband was diagnosed at 52, and he thinks he first had it in his 30s
Mm.
when he lost his sense of smell. So, and that's really what has propelled me to get involved not only with the Parkinson Foundation, but also with the Parkinson and Movement Disorder Alliance out of Tucson. And I'm on one of their advisory councils as well, because we've got to get the word out to people that every 9 minutes, someone is diagnosed with Parkinson's in the United States.
I'm just so thankful for people like yourself that, see, see a need and take action. I know that it was something that was going to benefit you and Rob as well, but there's just, there's not enough to, that we could say about that because so many of us, well, all of us really, all of us owe most of the benefits that we have within the community to someone that saw a need and took action, you
Yeah.
know, initially. Because yeah, you're coming from a much larger place, you're coming from Portland, and in a large city, even things that are even somewhat rare, there's a good number of people that you can probably find that are experiencing that same thing that you are. But yeah, you come to a smaller place, but then you found that it wasn't all that rare here. You actually had, you outgrew your space pretty quick, and
Yeah.
you've been able to impact the lives of a lot of people here in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and the surrounding rural areas. So thank you for being that kind of person. Like, and thank you for taking the lead and making change like that.
Well,
We mentioned that the event, the moving day, the Parkinson's moving day, it's
yeah,
basically a walk type event, right? Like the
it
Alzheimer's
is.
walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, we'll have, hopefully we'll have vendors. Everybody here in Los Solares, where I live, is vaccinated with double vaccination. And hopefully we'll have, some vendors here too as well. We're going to be doing it in the back parking lot here
Mhm.
at Los Solares. And the foundation is bringing in their folks. And so we'll have the big balloon entryway for us to walk through, when we go on our walk and as we come back through the finish line. And we'll have different lengths of walks for people. So one will be a mile
Mhm.
and a half, and I think the other one is a mile, and then we'll have a half mile. Because we just want everyone to be able to get in and be involved for
Yeah.
whatever amount of walking that they can do, which can sometimes with Parkinson's be a challenge. So, we just want everybody to be able to participate.
And
So
so
hopefully we can figure out.
how can folks or even organizations maybe that want to participate, what would be the best way for them to find out more information?
Well, the best way probably would be to contact me by email, and I can give you my email address.
Yeah,
It's
I can put that in the show notes,
okay,
so they won't have to look very far for it. Actually,
okay,
too,
perfect.
speaking of the fact you were mentioning that Rob was so prolific during this period with his music, I would love to put links to his music in the show notes
Oh,
so that
okay.
people could listen to that.
Yeah,
I
great. Well,
think,
he's been dealing with topics of his own morbidity, of course, but then he has a beautiful song on gratitude.
mm,
For all the blessings that we've had, even during this period of COVID. Yes, we lost a lot of people, and we're so very still grieving over that. I think there's still a lot amount of grieving to be done over all of that. And for him, it was a real introspective period.
yeah.
So I appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had a similar experience, with songwriting and music projects, and it, uh, there's some silver linings for sure. Um, and I know I'm feeling like I'm a bit all over the map here, but I want to highlight the fact that you all have called this Parkinson's Moving Day, because I think that it is like a traditional walk type fundraiser event, but I think that the fact that it's called Moving Day is there for me. There's something that's close to my heart in that, because I have a little girl that's disabled that was born with spina bifida, and not everybody can walk
Yeah.
for these events, like, so they do walk and rolls and things like that.
That's right. Yeah.
And I just love the inclusive nature of calling it a moving day. I mean, because with Parkinson's, people are going to have different levels of ability when it comes to
That's right.
walking. And so um I feel like when I hear things like that, there's a heart behind it.
Well, thank you for mentioning that, because that is exactly the point behind it was, however you can move, we want you there.
Yeah.
Because some of our folks are in wheelchairs, some of our folks, my husband used a walker, and some folks walk with walking sticks, and some folks walk, their families, everybody's invited. Um, 2 years ago, when we had it just in Albuquerque, we had a family with a child in a stroller. So everybody's welcome. However you can get there, we'd love to have you there and move with us. And as far as you feel is comfortable for you. I will send you. I think I sent you the information, or if you put my email up there, I can send the information on how to register
Yeah.
for the walk. And then, of course, it is a fundraiser. So if you can make a donation, that goes to the Parkinson Foundation, and they provide a helpline to people with any kind of questions on Parkinson's. They provide a ton of resources, and these webinars that we've had all throughout COVID on so many amazing topics that have helped build community for our folks, many of them who are isolated because they're single people living with Parkinson's.
Hmm.
And so these webinars have provided an opportunity to, learn and grow and get information. Additionally, they have hospital kits that they provide free of charge. And these hospital kits have life-saving information that a person with Parkinson's that is going to the hospital can provide to hospital staff so that there are no interactions with their Parkinson's medications,
Oh, wow.
so that they don't end up having a bad experience. A study that was done a few years ago found that 75% of people with Parkinson's in hospitals came out worse than they went in.
Oh,
So
wow.
we want to change that statistic, and the
Absolutely.
foundation wants to change that statistic and make better outcomes for our folks when they have to go into the hospital.
So we mentioned up top that this is just a great time for us to be talking about this because April happens to be Parkinson's Awareness Month.
That's right.
You mentioned a really interesting fact that I had not heard, that you were saying that recently or fairly recently, they've recognized that Parkinson's disease is actually the most predominant neurological disorder worldwide. Can you say some
It's
more about that?
Yeah, Parkinson's is now the fastest growing neurological disorder in the world. It has surpassed Alzheimer's. And that is a really scary statistic
Mhm.
to think about. Over 60,000 people are diagnosed a year in the United States. And like I said, 1 every 9 minutes. They anticipate that the current 1.5 million people with Parkinson's is going to double by the 2040s. So we need to take the steps necessary to educate people about Parkinson's so that they can, not become another statistic. It's a very, you're not going to die of Parkinson's typically, but Parkinson's, is not a fun ride. So we want to avoid people having to have that experience as much as possible. So there's a couple of things contributing to that statistic. One of them is in pesticides, the use of pesticides, herbicides. Some of these have paraquat in them, which is a known contributor to Parkinson's. Paraquat is often used in farming and on crops to keep weeds down. And so it is banned in most European countries. It is banned in India. It is banned in the United Emirates, and it is not banned in the United States.
Wow.
So we have continually fought to have paraquat banned in the United States. And I'm hopeful that with the new administration, we might see that come about,
Hmm.
because it is exposure to paraquat increases Parkinson's by 150%.
Wow,
So,
that's
so we,
remarkable.
so
I
we
was
really,
wondering, I was going to say, I was wondering also if I know you mentioned that, Parkinson's is really, it wouldn't be accurate to see it as a disease that only older adults get. But, I'm sure like with most anything too, age does increase our risks. I mean, that's just how it works. And so I'm thinking one of the other reasons we might be seeing the uptick would be the large population of baby boomers maybe as they age. Is
that's a possibility, definitely. And but still, the question is, why Parkinson's?
Yeah.
Where is that connection occurring, that the person's been exposed to something that's creating that inside the person, causing that to happen in with the person. In Rob's case, my husband, In the 70s, he, as a teacher, he used to work during the summers painting houses. And so they would scrape off the lead-based paint and never wear any kind of hazard equipment or
Mhm.
masks or anything. And he said that sometimes they even used torches to get some of the paint off. So, all that
Yeah.
fumes coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he really believes that he was first had his symptoms in his 30s when he started having what are called olfactory hallucinations. He would smell burning popcorn, and there was no burning popcorn. So odd olfactory hallucinations like that can be symptoms of a neurological disorder. He also lost his sense of smell in his 30s, and that is a precursor to Parkinson's, the loss of smell. So we just want people to be aware of things like that. Um, uh, in Muhammad Ali's case, hits to the head, falls where you've had a concussion can possibly lead to Parkinson's,
Mm.
exposure to black molds, living in an environment with black molds. So many of these types of conditions can contribute to Parkinson's. And it could be that we're seeing more and more of those types of conditions. There is a genetic factor to Parkinson's, and typically it used to be thought of about 3% were genetic factors. However, they're now believing that it's closer to perhaps 10%, 8 to 10% are genetic. And you'll see that in families. A good friend of mine who lives in Texas, her mother, her sister, and she have all have Parkinson's.
Wow.
So it can run through families. So if it is in your family, there are steps you can take, avoiding, like we use white vinegar for weeds. We just don't have chemical things like that in our house at all. So, being aware of that type of thing, I think is, the key here to avoiding Parkinson's.
Mm. Well, this is really, really great information. Thank you for sharing your knowledge on all of those things, those factors. And um, I want to have you talk a little bit about the fact that you mentioned before that you and Rob have often counted it as one of the perks, so to speak, of being on this journey with Parkinson's, that you've had the opportunity to get to know and live alongside so many amazing people. I really do think that that's a great insight to have, and it's one that many can really tap into. That oftentimes it is the difficulties that we face in life that kind of crack us, and open us up to, greater degrees of love and compassion and connection with others. But can you talk a little bit about, what do you attribute your ability to be able to see these types of silver linings and things, for you and Rob? Is there any advice that you would have for others who are going through periods of difficulty, in that regard?
Well, I'm sure I'm not the only one in our group who will say that, one of the best things about being in this club, this elite club, not so elite anymore, is that we meet so many wonderful, caring people. And we do truly have a wonderful community here in Santa Fe. And we feel so blessed, to be in that club with all these other folks. I would think personally that I always say you can prepare for the future, and I think it's really important to prepare for the future, particularly when you're living with someone who has a progressive neurological disorder. So you need to get all your ducks in a row. But then after that, I think you just have to live in the moment,
Mhm.
and you just have to look for the and I'm not trying to be Pollyanna here with rose-colored glasses or anything like that. Because certainly being a caregiver to somebody with Parkinson's is challenging. However, I do think that our attitude about it makes all the difference in the world.
Yeah.
And if we can look for those sweet um, moments that come every day, and they're there every day.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be the way the mountains are out today. They're just so stunning. Or the sunset, at the end of the day. The sunset the other day was spectacular. Um, there's just so many things to appreciate and
Mhm.
appreciate in each other. And I think Rob and I are blessed that that we are able to see those things and tell each other, how much we appreciate being on this journey together. To me, attitude trumps everything. And it's just kind of been, a way of life for us for, a number of years is, you know, uh, in reality, Parkinson's has never really stopped us from doing anything we wanted to do. In 2019, we went to Europe and we visited Rob's cousin in Milan. And, we went to Spain and France, and there's always ways to get what you want to do, and um, I think that it doesn't have to be a limiting experience. You can, like with Rob and his music, he's been more prolific since he had his Parkinson's than he was before his
Wow.
Parkinson's. So there's gifts in these challenges that come.
Mhm.
We just have to find that nugget that is the gift.
I think that, you know, the conversations that I've had with Rob about music, um, I've I feel like I've been able to tell that he's a lyrics guy. Like
Yes.
he really likes, getting into what the artist is saying, and so it makes me think that, like, with this journey that he's been on, that you guys have been on together, um, it's given him so much to say.
I think that's true. And I think it has given him the opportunity to look at his life. And it's not to say that some days he doesn't say, why am I still here?
Mm.
But and I'll always say, well, because the grandkids need you. You know? uh, but certainly it's given him a means of expressing maybe the grief and over the losses that come with a disease like Parkinson's, because you do lose a lot. He's lost his ability to drive. He's lost his ability to play his guitar like he used to play his keyboard like he used to. And some days he's lost his ability to smile at will. So, and certainly walking is much more difficult. So there's a lot of losses, and he somehow has found um, this wellspring of things he wants to share with the world. And definitely, the lyrics often come first, and then the tune will come later. And especially, I think with these songs that he's just written recently. But some of it is just instrumental. It's been very beautiful instrumentals too that he's been working on. So
That's
yeah,
remarkable. I can't wait to check it out.
yeah. He's got some love in the time of COVID and several other tunes out there that really express for him, I think, his dealing with this.
Well, I really love, the picture that we've been able to paint that's just kind of unfolded. I mean, that's how a conversation is. It's kind of its own special kind of art. And I think that there's a lot of valuable information that you've given, and then just perspective. I think that there's some great perspective that you've shared, and then we have something to look forward to. So we want to invite all of you who might be joining us for this conversation to please do, join us for this upcoming event, May 22nd. It's a Saturday, and we're very hopeful that we're going to be getting together and gathering for this. It's an outdoor event. And so we'll have all the information in the show notes for the Parkinson's Moving Day that's coming up. It's going to be at the Los Solares community here in Santa Fe. And yeah, so and if you're an organization that would like to get involved, we'll also have the information in the show notes for how you can become a sponsor, how you can bring your organization's information and services information to the event for people. But thanks so much, Karen, for joining me for this conversation.
Thank you, Ken. Thanks for having me. Thank you for helping me to get the word out. We'd love to have our first ever moving day walk in Santa Fe be a huge success and raise money to provide lots of resources for people living with Parkinson's. Thank you,
Absolutely.
Ken.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye.